Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joesephyr and today we're going to have another Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Now, I would have made a joke video for this one, but out of the respect for the many fans out there of this character, I decided to make a proper one, and of course we're going to be talking about Serah. Now, Serah, with her LD, is much maligned across the Dissidia community because it's just not good. There's unfortunately, even before we get into the details of it, looking at Serah's kit, it's just not evolved very well, but here I am to tell you exactly why. There's no event that's going to come along with this banner, just like Aerith before her. So we're just going to focus on Serah and exactly why the community dislikes this LD as much as they do. So if that's all stuff that interests you, of course, stay tuned and keep on watching. Now, before we get started, don't forget to check all of my social links in the description box below. But as well as that, I want to mention that after Friday's Final Fantasy IV stream, I am actually going to be taking a week away from streaming, etc. Because I actually haven't had a week away from videos and streaming pretty much since I started up again, just like this time last year. So I thought it would be nice just to have a few days away from everything. I'm still going to try and get videos up for Waka and Trey beforehand, and then the next time I come back will be the following Friday for FF4 once again, ready for when the community stream and everything follows up the following week. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere very long, and you'll still get all your videos and everything for Should You Pull, etc. I'm just getting you guys know in advance. Now, of course, with Patreon as well, I always shout out one of my patrons every time I release a new video, and today that person is going to be Kane Erasmus, who has just recently upgraded their Patreon tier, so thank you very much for doing that. And if you would like a title card, just like Kane here has, as well as other benefits, such as exclusive content to do with the channel itself, being a part of Would You Pull, being a part of various voice chats that we will do together, then perhaps consider having a look at the Patreon link in the description box below. Don't forget to check out all of the other content creators there are out there for Dissidia Opera Omnia, and of course all of the links in the description box below for all the various resources there are out there for the game as well. So as always, let's take a look at the banner before we go into Serah, her LD, and everything about that, or what little there is about that. With the banner itself, it's much like Aerith's banner not too long ago, where Serah's LD will be featured along with her EX 15 and 35 at increased rates. And then you have Ishtola's Burst as well, so if you are pulling on this for whatever reason, then you might get Ishtola's Burst along the way. But every other EX 15 and 35 is also going to be on this banner as well. So this is the banner that's going to have a lot of gold orbs that perhaps you weren't looking for, much like Aerith's banner in the past. But again, don't panic. If you are after Serah, her rates are still the same rate as any other EX, LD, etc. on any other banner. It's just you're more likely to get gold orbs that perhaps aren't as exciting as they might have been for you. So what is it about Serah that people just don't like? First things first, I will say that this banner, it hasn't actually been officially announced for when it's being released, but if we got anything to go by off of Aerith's banner and other information, I'm pretty sure it's going to be released tomorrow. If they change Serah in some respect, obviously this video is not going to count for anything, so please do disregard like anything with regards to any reworks she might get or any LD board additions she might get, because if they do that, as unlikely as it probably is, then there is that to factor in, because this particular LD has had a lot of negative kind of connotations around it ever since its release in JP. But like I said, why is that? Well, first things first, Serah's base kit has no rework. Now, I am not one of these people that thinks a character is immediately bad if they don't get a rework. I have actually kind of looked at that mentality and jokingly mocked it in the past because of characters like Aerith, who didn't get a rework on their base kit. But sometimes follow-ups and things like that can mitigate a slightly weaker base kit, therefore foregoing the need for a rework, and because the rework has been placed elsewhere in the text and not within the skills themselves. Like Vivi, like Aerith, Balthea, characters like that, they can get reworked in alternate ways, but their base skills might stay the same. Serah doesn't really get that, unfortunately. Serah's base skills, with no follow-up or anything, are at this point quite simply unacceptable. Wound does poison, like debuffs, max brave down. It is a 2-hit brave HP attack if she has a plus version of it, which comes with her EX buff. This is not acceptable at this point in time. Like, 2-hit brave HP with splash damage and a bit of bravery battery, Not today, Satan. Not today. It's just not good. Now, Unshaken Will is a nice buff. Like, she has a lot of nice buffs about her. Like, she gives speed buff, she gives attack buff, she gives max brave up, things like that, and her artifacts are a big part of that as well. But there's a lot of characters that have really strong auras and buffs nowadays, and skills like this don't cut the mustard. Moonlight, it's not much better. It is a Brave gain followed by a single hit AoE Brave HP attack with split damage that also batteries by 20% of the HP damage dealt. It's just not good at this point. Like, you get... she's got little auras. Like, she can like raise max bravery and attack by quite a lot based on whether enemies are debuffed, etc. And I'll get to that with her artifacts, which actually might put you off Serah even further. But unless her skills get reworked at this point in time, they are quite simply unacceptable. Now, her EX is fine. It's actually not too bad. Because you get the Goddess's Light debuff off of it, which is a defense down, and a bravery poison, which stacks on top of the poison she's already doing, which after like character boards, etc., is actually a 90% initial bravery poison, which on top of Goddess's Light stacks up quite a lot. And once you've got EX plus and everything, Goddess Ultima Arrow is a 8-hit brave HP with 100% damage, AoE damage, as long as you're hitting a broken target, which is acceptable. It's not amazing, it's still only 1 HP dump at this point in time, but it's acceptable. It's still not good. You get a Brave and HP attack plus, where you get Brave gains off of them. That's pretty much it, unfortunately. And like I said, Unshaken Will does give defense, speed, and some extra stats to herself. It's not bad, but it doesn't make up for her poor skills. Now let's look at her LD. Paradigm Shift combo has no business being this poor, honestly. And I mean this with all due respect to the Serah fans out there. Even after LD boards, it's an 8-hit Brave HP attack, AoE split damage, 1 HP dump, and it inflicts a debuff to the enemies. The same debuff you got from her EX, which is something, I guess. But you do get a framed buff off of it. Like, it's okay. Like, whenever her turn comes around, you batteries the party and herself for slightly more, and you get Brave Overflow by 20%. But I'm not being funny, Kuja does that, and the amount of damage he churns out puts Serah way to shame. Like, way to shame. He might not battery the same as she does, but he does a lot more than she does, and even he's not considered that great at this point in time. So, all targets come in and they're affected by Goddess's Light, which means that they've got the poison and the defense is down straight away once you get this. You also only get 3 uses of this, which is weird. You get 16 turns of the Tears of Hope or the buff, which is fine because at least you're getting the passive battery off of it. But a party bravery battery with a 8-hit Brave HP split damage attack is just unacceptable for this point in time in the game. Like I said, LD boards don't do nearly enough for her to add to this. Like, she gets 2 extra hits and the amount of Brave Overflow is increased. Maybe they'll rework it. Maybe they'll do something to Serah to make her more acceptable for this day and age, but sadly, it just doesn't look likely. And then when it comes to her command abilities, like her call abilities, they're okay. You know, Wound does what Wound does, which inflicts all the debuffs you would get from it. So Max Brave down, Poison. And again, these aren't terrible debuffs. Like 50% Max Brave down and a decent Poison is fine if you're getting a battery off of it. 2 hits of Bravery. 2. Aerith does more than that with just her follow-up, let alone anything else. And then her LD gives you the Goddess's Light debuff, which is kind of nice because it isn't a bad debuff. And then you get, with the call effects, you get the Bravery battery for her, or for the caller off of it. Again, 8-hit Brave HP with a single HP dump. It's fine, but when we've pulling on every banner under the sun, it's just not good enough at this point in time, at least in my opinion. I'm sure if people were to take Serah to a Lufenia mission, you can make her work. But to make her work, when you've got the likes of Ishtola and Aerith around for your support slot, or debuffers even, like Emperor, you've got to put the work in to make Serah work where you wouldn't with a lot of other characters. She's not unusable. No character in this game is unusable. Like, we're talking back in the day, I used to use Gilgamesh when I used to make jokes and videos saying that no one should ever pull for Gilgamesh, and I still made him work. There are people who've made Tidus work in every Lufenia mission until he got his LD and burst. You can make Serah work, but realistically, there's just no excuse for what she's been given at this point in time. If you are going to use Serah, though, you will need to factor in her cursed artifacts as well. Because on top of everything else, if you are going to make Serah work, you pretty much have to have 3 copies of her double cursed artifact. Because debuff attack boost all is an extra 30% max brave and attack to your party as long as an enemy is debuffed, which they always will be if you're taking Serah. And then Moonlight Charge and Boost gives a further max bravery sort of like by 20% to her for each one, so that's 60% in total, and an extra 3 uses of Moonlight. Now, Moonlight's not a particularly good skill at this point in time, but it does charge her EX quicker than using an HP plus would, and you're not going to use her LD every turn, so you're going to want to get as much out of it as possible. But if you're going to use Serah, you are going to have to get 3 copies of double cursed artifacts. So if you've got Mog Pass and those guaranteed double red artifacts, it's going to help you here. So, because there's no event that comes with this, we're going to skip straight to the should you pull section of the video, where, honestly, I don't think it's much of a question at this point when it comes to my recommendation on whether one should be pulling for Serah's LD or not. Honestly, like I said earlier, I didn't make a joke video out of this because I know Serah does have a pretty big fan base out there, and I'm so sorry to say it, but Serah is, unless she gets changed in some way, by far the weakest LD we've seen in a very long time. The debuff being the same as the EX is just not good enough at this point. There's no reason why, as far as I'm concerned. And therefore, the only reasons I feel that people should be pulling on Serah is if they're a big fan of hers or they enjoy the memes of using characters that aren't very good. Honestly, I feel that Ishtola's Burst comes back on a much better banner pretty much straight after this one because Trey's really good. Waka comes after him. And he's, like, not a must-pull, but he's definitely better than Serah is. So if you're after Ishtola, there's much better banners than this one. But, like, I'm trying to think of ways to defend her. Yes, she's usable. Everyone is usable. But, honestly, again, with all due respect to the Serah fans out there, I'm quite pleased to have a banner that's this easy to skip. Because resources are becoming very, very, very premium, and like having to spread them across all these banners is difficult. So sometimes it's nice to have a banner that's like, oh good, it's a breather. It's one I can just gloss over and leave. But there's a free pull with this one, so maybe if you get Serah LD for free, I would never turn down a free toy. The amount of times where I see people say, I got this for free and I didn't even want it, don't say that, because there are other people out there that do, and therefore it's invalidating to them. But if I were to get Serah LD, yeah, I'd probably use it, but I probably wouldn't use it for very long, if I'm perfectly honest. And then finally, of course, it's time for Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to have your voice heard and let everyone know whether you would or wouldn't pull on any given banner and why. Now, honestly, I'm quite shocked by the votes and the comments that I've had in some ways over on Patreon. Once again, a massive thank you goes out to all of my patrons for their votes and their comments. Now, you can imagine that the vast majority of people have comments such as, no, hot garbage, as somebody pulls on everything, won't be spending anything, only free pulls, etc, etc. However, the numbers don't quite reflect this, because 62% of people said that they weren't pulling on this at all, 30% said that they were spending less than 100 tickets, and that I'm sure is down to collector mentality, but 8% of people said that they were going to use over 100 tickets, and then nobody voted for yes gems, but I did get one comment that said that they were going to use gems. The only reason I haven't featured that is because obviously it doesn't quite line up with what's been shown in the votes. But, like I said, you've seen these pop up on the side here about what kind of comments I usually get. However, I am going to highlight a couple of extras as well. So Multiracial Eyes says, you literally couldn't pay me enough to pull. Even considering the future, if she ever becomes useful again, I'd just pull for her LD and burst then, with a chance to get another LD along the way. I don't care for Serah, never have, and this poor excuse for an early Chaos EX plus LD is not winning me over. Now, I think that might be a little harsh to any sort of Serah fans out there, but there's a reason that no one really likes this LD, and it's because it's very weak, and unfortunately her kit is very weak in general. And I do agree that if she gets better later, I'll just pull for her then, because by the time she comes back around again, there'll be banners that have multiple LDs on them. If she has a burst, there'll be other ways of getting that. Like there's lots of reasons just to wait for Serah. There's no reason, in my mind at least, to try and get her now. Kane Erasmus says, Serah, the collector inside me wants it, but the reason that she isn't mentioned piques my interest on what was planned instead. And what they're referring to here is that during the community stream, Serah's banner wasn't mentioned at all. Like, it wasn't mentioned at all. So, as is said here, it might be that she gets an entire overhaul. Spitball here, but we'll see till the day comes. And as I said earlier in this video, if that does happen, then you can disregard a lot of what I'm saying, and we'll have to look at it again another way and see if it makes any changes to her. I don't personally see it happening, because you often find in the community streams that the latter half of the month tends to be kind of kept more under wraps. Like, they never said, they didn't give Aerith's banner, they just said that Aerith was coming out, and they, hid the fact that Ishtola was getting the next burst, but we all kind of knew it because of the Japanese version of the game. So I just don't want people to get their hopes up for a potential rework when there's a good chance it might not happen. If it does, then we'll look at it then. But once again, thank you all very much for your comments here, but I think it's fairly safe to say that Serah is a big ol' nope from me. So that's going to be it for this video. Once again, massive apologies go out to all the Serah fans out there. I'm sure that there are plenty, and if you do pull for her, then do let me know in the comments below if you enjoy her, what events you're planning on using her in, etc., and where you're going to slot her into your party over other support characters. It would be nice to know from you guys. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell for any future videos I might be making. I will be covering Trey and Waka in the near future as well, and like I said, I will not be doing any streams over Twitch after from this Friday coming, which will be the 16th, up until the following Friday. So I shall hopefully enjoy getting my garden redone and stuff like that. Nothing exciting, just be nice to take a bit of a break. But anyways, that's going to be it from me. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you next time. Take care.